Hello everyone, welcome to another live video. A topic that I haven't spoken about in detail before, but we will be getting into it today. These 4 stages that narcissists spiral through after discarding you, their source of supply. Because you got to think about it like this, right? You supplied something to them, something that fueled them, that kept them going. And what you were supplying to them was not the same as what they were supplying to you. What they gave to you was manipulation, lies, future faking, control, which all just fed their false self. Now, what you gave to the narcissist was very different, very potent. You gave them a source of life through your vulnerability, your purity, your authenticity, and through you giving them this power, control, and authority over you. It's a very potent source of supply, unmatched, irreplaceable, something that's very rare in this world. The hope, belief, and passion that you put into them, they likely will never be able to find that again. And so they got this from you, and yeah, it was very powerful. It was an incredible experience for them. And yeah, they devalued you for such a long time because they wanted to keep getting more out of you. You always had somewhat more, something that was fueling you, that was keeping you going. And they wanted to extract that out of you as well. They were getting very greedy because they're insatiable. No matter what you did, no matter what you gave, it's like they were just there waving their hands saying, keep it coming. Keep giving me more of that over you. It was never enough. And yeah, it's because they're insatiable. And all the while they weren't doing anything for you, they were just taking. All you were getting was manipulation, lies, future faking. You weren't getting anything. You were being coercively controlled. You were being extracted from all of that time. All you got, all that really happened was you got a false character. They made you look up to them, admire them, view them as powerful. But they were just extracting from you all of that time through having this power over you, through having this control. And that's how it all just blows up by the end of it. Because they were the ones who were in control, and yet at the same time, they dumped all of the responsibility of it onto you, which was a recipe for disaster. Of course, you couldn't make anything out of that. You couldn't build anything from it because you had no power in that relationship. They had all of the power because that's how they wanted it to be, which means that it was only ever going to go one way because they're all about themselves. And they just don't even care about you. All they care about is getting the supply. And as long as they're getting the supply, they don't care. And of course, by them constantly extracting from you and neglecting you, gradually it just runs you down until you can't do it anymore. So it gets to a certain point where they're getting less and less from you. And you just can't even sustain yourself by the end of it. And of course, for them, they start to feel like now they've lost something from you. Like you're holding back on them. You're not giving them that potent supply like you used to. They don't see it as though they just drained it all out of you. So it's like kicking a horse when it's down. But because of this, because they're so delusional, they lack self-awareness, they refuse to self-reflect, take accountability, see the errors of their ways. Because of that, they go to blaming you. And now that leads me to stage 1, which is when they go to playing the victim. So after using you up, giving you nothing back but lies of future faking, and having all of this manipulation and control over you for all of that time, after that, they play the victim. Or they play the victim so that they don't look bad. Because of course, people start to see, well, what went wrong in this relationship? What happened to you? And they just make it out like you just ruined everything. And you were the one who was the narcissist. You were the one who was only caring about yourself. So they use it to just absolve themselves of any responsibility after how it ended. But also it's because they still need supply. And they can't get that supply for you anymore. They've already drained it all out of you. So they play the victim to gain sympathy and attention now from other people. They twist the story and paint you as the cruel one, while seeking sympathy from other people. But of course, this doesn't sustain them as well. What they really want, they need that primary source, like what they had with you. They need a source of security and stability. These other people, they're not really stabilizing anything. They're just kind of temporarily giving the narcissist validation. But also the narcissist needs to keep these other people at arm's length, because if they get too close and they become a primary source of supply, the narcissist will just end up draining and abusing them as well. And then those people too will start to see the monster that the narcissist really is, because they'll just end up destroying them. So the narcissist has to get a new source of supply. And now that leads me to stage 2, which is when they flaunt the new source. They parade this new person like they've moved on. It's to make you feel replaceable, to make you feel like you just weren't good enough. Something was wrong with you, to make you insecure, to target your confidence about how it ended, so you don't look at them like they were the problem. And you don't get too confident thinking that you can go and expose them to people. Because now instead you're blaming yourself, looking at what they're displaying to you and seeing how, well, they've moved on, they've seemingly found something better. They're doing all right now, so it must have been me. I must not have been good enough for them. And that's exactly how they want you to think. They want you to feel jealous and insecure. They want to make you think that you're missing out on something. Because again, this is more supply. And you may be thinking, well, why do they need supply if they've got this new source? And it's because, again, they're not really satisfied. That's why they flaunt it. That's why they put it out there. That's why they try and make you jealous. Because it's all superficial. They can't experience a deep connection. So they need people's eyes to be on them. They need to get that validation from you. Because even though they're in this new relationship, they still feel like something's wrong with them. The shame follows them. They still feel like they are the problem. Because in the back of their minds, they know what they did to you. They know what they put you through. They know how good you were to them. They know you gave them everything. And they still ruined you. So of course, this new supply is not going to be enough for them. What they really want is that validation from you. They want you to tell them that they're okay. You, this person who they did these things to. You are the only one who can really give it to them and validate it. And that's what they use the new supply for, is to really just brainwash you into believing that. Into thinking that there was something wrong with you after all. And that they are okay, they are fine. That's why they come back to you. And yeah, that leads me to stage 3, the Hoover. So the new supply cannot give the narcissist what they're looking for. Because this is an unfinished chapter with you. It's left open-ended. This is why, they didn't give you any closure, any answers. Because deep down they know they weren't good enough for you. They just ruined you and they just tossed you aside, got rid of you, blamed you for something that wasn't even your fault. So now they just feel this urge to come back to you because the new supply cannot satisfy them. They can't make them feel better. The problem is they weren't good enough for you. They took everything. They ruined you. They couldn't sustain you. And that is why you couldn't sustain them, because they couldn't sustain you. They couldn't sustain the person who was providing to them, which means they were the source of the issue. And that's how they then later come back to you after they've been in the new supply. They've been having all of this superficial fun on the side. They return back to you because that lifestyle, that fun, it can't give them what they really need. And nothing will ever be greater. Nothing will ever replace the primary source. Because you provided long-term security and stability. The new supply, they can give an initial high and it is very potent. Nothing can compete with that new supply, especially you after you've been with them for such a long time. But once that short-term hit of dopamine is over and it's no longer doing it for them like it used to, now they want to come back to you. They want to have that stability again, because nothing can replace that. That sense of predictability. They knew how things were going to be with you. They knew that you would be there for them. You would provide for them. You would care for them. Love them unconditionally. Nothing can replace that. Nothing can compete with it long term. Everything else outside of it, if you imagine it like on a chart, on a graph, it has this short-term spike, but just as quick as it goes up, it goes down just as fast. But with you, it stayed up for a very long time, or at least it went up and down, but it didn't go down much. It stayed consistent, stable, secure. And that's what they really want, long term. So inevitably, yes, they will, most often, unless they completely burn the bridge, they will try to come back to you. They will hoover you. Because the new supply will fail to fill the void. I mean, most people in this world, there's no way that they are built to sustain a narcissist over a long period of time. This is why, you don't see the narcissist treat other people like they treated you. They already know most people can't handle that. Most people aren't going to tolerate it. Most people aren't strong enough to go through what you went through. So they go out into the world and they realize that. They realize that no one else can fill this void. No one else can put up with it like you do. No one else has that inner strength. No one else will take on all of the responsibility while having no power at all. And so they come back to you. They hoover you. They come crawling back with fake remorse and nostalgia. They start remembering how it used to be. And this is mostly about your unconditional love. Like, despite all of the things they did to you, everything you put them through, everything they put you through, despite that, you were still there. You still cared for them. And no matter how unrealistic the demand was, you still tried. You still gave it your best effort. And you never blamed them. You were the real victim. And yet, any time that you felt bad, any time that you felt shame, it was more just about you not being good enough. You were never sad or looking at them thinking, oh, it's you, you're the problem. You were never thinking that way. That's not how the victim thinks. That's how the narcissist thinks. I mean, yeah, you may have thought that way eventually, and then that's when they discarded you because you woke up to the truth. But this is it. That's what they love about you. It's how they can keep this code of silence. They can gaslight you, keep you in denial. They can burn down everything around you. And you're still standing there thinking that it's your duty, your responsibility to do more, to do better. But you've already done so much, more than anyone else ever would. That's what they love about you. It's like no matter what, no matter how bad the situation is, no matter how far to the depths of hell they bring you, you're still trying to find a way to pull yourself and them back up as high as you can. That's what they will miss. And that's what makes them return. But what happens if you've woken up? What happens if you realize they're not going to change? You can't ever satisfy them. You can't make anything better. By taking them back, you're just going to get destroyed again in the process, just like they did before. What happens if you realize that? Now we go through, we go to stage 4. And that's the smear campaign. So they can't get you back. Now they're still stuck with the shame, the feelings of inadequacy. Because deep down, they know what they did to you. They know what they put you through. They know you were so good to them. They know you did everything you possibly could, gave them unconditional love, tolerated things you never should have tolerated, did so much more for them than you ever should have, than anyone would have, than anyone has ever done. They know that. And so it just makes them feel how they should feel. Of course, they lack self-awareness, they're in denial, but they're just screwed up people. They just destroy everything that is good. They just ruin it. And so that's how they should feel. Problem is, they don't want to feel that way. They want to feel good about themselves. They want to feel like they're a hero. They were on the front line, they were battling the enemy, the monster, a villain. That's the narrative they want to create. And so they spin that narrative. They start the smear campaign. When you don't return, when you don't go back in the box where they want you, following that fake narrative, being their source of supply, they smear your name. And it's all just to protect their fragile ego and to maintain control. Because they know they have a problem. They know that all of the destruction they caused, everything they did, It's all because of their unstable emotions. Now, people with these very unstable emotions who lack discipline, they're very reckless, abusive, exploitative. These are all traits of a mental disorder. A normal, healthy person should never behave that way, to where they self-sabotage, to where they destroy a person. Yes, they are mentally ill for doing that. Of course they are. I mean, what other explanation can we give? If something is good, if something is relatively healthy, it's producing something positive. What normal, healthy person would go and destroy it, ruin it? And we can take it another step further. What person would destroy it and then be in denial about it? Not even recognize it or take accountability? And then go off and just try and pretend that everything's okay. And that actually it was something wrong with you. Something wrong with the very person who was sustaining it all. Clearly, these are signs, these are symptoms of someone who is seriously mentally ill. Otherwise, we're saying people who do that are normal. And I don't think anyone can say that it's normal. I mean, of course, they always have to find something wrong about you. When they devalue you, they criticize you. They'll always find something wrong. There's always going to be something. Nobody's perfect. And if they can't find anything, they'll find something from years ago. Something you confided in them at the beginning of the relationship. Something to do with your ex or a family member. A disagreement that you had. They'll find something. And then they'll just say, oh, yeah, this is why you broke up with your ex. This is why your family don't talk to you. Because you're selfish. They'll always find something to make you feel bad about yourself as you will as the victim. You're always looking within. You're always trying to do more, trying to do better. That's who you've been conditioned to be. And yeah, every abuser has an excuse, and they will use this as an excuse. Something that happened from 10 years ago, that you confided in them, or maybe, they told you to do 10 things, you forgot to do one of those things, they'll hold on to that. Or if they can't find any reason, if you really were 100% perfect for them, they'll make something up. These people are fantasists. They just create these fabrications in their minds. They invent things. They'll come up with something. Anything. Or they'll just exaggerate something. Maybe you were at a store and someone complimented you on what you were wearing. It could have been a completely innocent interaction. They will blow it up and make it into something that made them look bad. Or that was an attack on them. They'll hold on to it and they'll use that as an excuse to run this smear campaign and just destroy you again. But deep down, they do know the truth. They know that they have a problem. They're just constantly trying to find ways to justify what they did to you, how they treated you. This is why they need all of these people in this smear campaign to validate this lie, this false narrative. And even then, what are all of these people in the smear campaign doing? They're not even making anything better for the narcissist. They're just making them feel better emotionally. They're not doing anything like what you were doing for them. So how does any of this make any sense? Even all of these people put together, even if they have 100 flying monkeys, they're not even doing a fraction of what you were doing for the narcissist. all they're really doing is validating the false narrative. And they're just directing all of this at you, blaming you, trying to make you agree with them, get you on this wavelength to where you blame yourself. You see how it's all a false reality. They use it to keep themselves in denial about you because they just can't bring themselves to accept it, that they were the problem all along. That's what this comes down to. And that's how they spiral through these 4 stages. They end up smearing you. And it really ends there because these smear campaigns, they really just, they go on for a very long time, sometimes even for life. It's their little fantasy to escape from their unpleasant reality. That's what the smear campaign is. It's all fantasy. It has nothing to do with facts, because if they ever sat down and actually wrote down the facts of what happened, what you did for them, what you put up with, what they did for you, what they put up with you, it would be no comparison. It would be very clear who the victim is. So it's all fantasy. It's all based on their unstable emotions. That's why they have a smear campaign, to regulate their emotions, to make themselves feel important, to give themselves a sense of control when otherwise they would feel insecure. So that's really what this is. And it's always been this way. With every prophet of God, they were all smeared by towns, communities. Everyone else was fake. Everyone else was villainous. The person who they painted as the perpetrator, the narcissist, was not the narcissist. That was the victim. That was the hero. That was the Samaritan, the martyr. And typically in practically every situation, it always is. But yeah, most people will never realize this. Most people are brainwashed. Most people are asleep. Most people just can't get over their own egos. They can't just deflate themselves to just accept the truth. They just can't do it. And yet they expect you to do that. And you do it so easily, so effortlessly, as you've been doing it for a very long time. But no matter how much you do it, no matter how small you make yourself from how you used to be, it's never going to make them feel better. It's never going to sustain them because it's all fake. It is. And I'm so sorry for anyone who's going through this, who's been smeared, and they're all just jealous of your light. They just don't want to accept it. They just don't want to celebrate it. And you are probably the type of person where you see someone else in a similar situation, you just want to jump in, you just want to put your arm around them, give them a hug. You can't stand to see all these other crazy people bullying them. And that's it, that's what makes us a target, is that we're not like them, we're different. But yeah, you have a light. And it's a shame, it's like the world doesn't want to see it. But I do believe that we came here with this purpose. as starseeds, chosen ones, we did come here to shine our light and to hopefully find our tribe, find a group of people who do vibe with it, who are ready to be authentic. And hey, look, this is what I'm doing now. I've got you watching this live video. It speaks to you. And yeah, I think that's my job, is to motivate you, encourage you to shine your light. But of course, do it wisely, with discernment. Don't just go shining it around in someone's eyes, blinding them. You got to understand, it may hurt some people when you shine that light of yours. And it's because they don't shine so bright like you do. And that's just it. They're not used to seeing a light like yours. It's intimidating. It is. Not everyone in this world has the strength to let that light be shined. And it's because of their ego. It's because of how small it makes them feel in comparison. And this is it. It makes them feel rejected. It makes them feel excluded. No matter how much you try to love the narcissist and make them feel a part of something, they felt like they were left out. Now, fair enough, I can understand, if someone feels rejected, humiliated, invisible, unimportant, because they really are left out. They really are excluded. They really are rejected. Like how the narcissist tries to do with you. They try to ostracize you from society. That's completely different. But when someone is just shining their light, just being who they are, and they're welcoming you to be a part of it. But this is it. They don't just want to bathe in your light. They want to steal your light. They want to consume it. And then they want to stamp it out. They envy it. And envy is, a normal human emotion, something that everyone will experience in their lives. But there's different levels to it. And when your emotions take over you and it gets to a point where you're so envious, so jealous, that now you're trying to destroy it, something is seriously wrong. But of course, that's what these people do. And they will not stop until they feel like they've put it out. And it's because they're that insecure. And this is it, what you resist will persist. They're fighting it inside of themselves. It's so much pressure. Refusing to accept how they really feel in the presence of your light. So small, so insignificant, so worthless. They struggle to overcome it, so they fight it. They fight the feeling and then they project it onto you. That's what they're doing. And this can be a real pain. I mean, not just with narcissists or relationships, but you come across people in everyday life and it's like, I don't even know who you are. You're just a complete stranger to me. As you can see, you've hit a nerve. But someone's making it all personal. And it's nothing to do with you. You are just a representation of someone earlier in their life, in their childhood maybe, who made them feel small, made them feel insecure. And now, you've triggered something in them. You've opened up this wound. And it's not your fault. You're not being deliberately provocative. So it's not your fault. Now, of course, if you're going out of your way to provoke someone, that's completely different. But if you're just being you, you're not going out of your way, and someone else is making it personal, that's on them. That's something that they have to deal with. But instead, they create a story in their minds and they make it about, how dare you? How dare you have the nerve to do that? Like, what are you trying to say about me, kind of thing? But it's more about you being arrogant, you being vain, you being selfish. And then they see it as though that excuses them to treat you however they choose to, and to spin all of these lies and rumors about you. Really bad. But yeah, it's always been the same. And all of these losers in these smear campaigns, it's always just sort of jealousy, envy, because they don't want people to see your light. They know that so many people will love you. That's why. And hey, let me be living proof of that. Because before I began this channel, even long before all of this, my childhood, I was always isolated, not allowed to have friends, not allowed to go out. And I was just feeling like, nobody likes me. That's how I felt for a lot of my life. And I would look back, and so many times, like, girls would try and flirt with me and people were trying to make friends with me. And then they started to turn against me and think that I'm just arrogant, or I think I'm better than them. Actually, I was thinking the opposite. I thought they were just laughing at me or something, like so many times. So I missed so many opportunities because of that, because I was made to feel insecure about myself. And then, like one day then, my sister told me to make a Facebook. So I made a Facebook, I put up some pictures and stuff, and before I knew it, I had like 5,000 friends and like so many friend requests, 10,000 followers, like so many people in my town. And of course, even at that time, it was very difficult for people with making friends, and especially, having girls that like them. And I had like thousands of girls in the UK, in my city, who were like obsessed with me. I literally had like thousands of likes and comments on my pictures. And I'd be taking pictures with like my shirt off and stuff. And but yeah, I met some really beautiful girls back then as well. And it just shows it was true. They didn't want people to see my light because they knew people would love me. And yeah, all of that got ruined, all of that got destroyed. I went through smear campaigns, even after that, gang stalking. I was left alone, isolated again. And yeah, that's when I started my YouTube. But this time, it's been different, because with the Facebook, that was kind of just all about me. I was young, I was immature, of course, We're always like that when we're young. It was all just about, how wonderful I am. But then I matured, as we do when we get to our late 20s. I was 29, started this YouTube. And this time it was all about you, all about the viewers. And that's why I didn't even show my face on you until about 2 years in. It was just my voice. Because I didn't want to make it about me. And I only started showing my face afterwards because they brought in the live videos and I thought that could be helpful for people. And yeah, again, after the smear campaigns, after the gang stalking, which went on for over 2 years, and then I started the channel, it grew so quickly. I mean, I was making a full-time income within about 4 months. And I had 30,000 subscribers within 1 year. That's how fast it grew. 100,000 subscribers within 3 years. And then I got the YouTube plaque. So again, yeah, a lot of people love me. And yet, I was always told that, something is wrong with me and that people don't like me. It's always been like a common message that's been fed to me throughout my life. But it's kind of sad because, it makes you overcompensate and then you can become someone that people don't like. But these days, I'm just a pretty humble guy. And, I've learned not to go out of my way to make anyone like me. And instead to validate myself. It's been quite a long journey for me. But definitely studying about narcissists has helped a lot. But yeah, I want to share this story with you. It's not all about me, it's about showing you, just look, throughout my life, my childhood, I was told that I'm nothing, that no one would like me, no one would want me. It turned out everyone wanted me. And then again, the same narrative was fed back to me. Turned out everyone wanted me again. I had people all around the world telling me to visit in their city. I can stay with them. They'll take care of me. So it just shows. Don't let the smear campaign get to you. And sometimes, people are just brainwashed. And I know what that's like. You could have something, it could be right in front of your eyes. It could be perfect for you. It could be exactly what you need and yet you overlook it because you feed into the brainwashing. And this is exactly what we did with the narcissist. Well, it was the opposite. We had so much belief in them. We thought they were something ideal. It turned out they were the opposite. So you see what this brainwashing can do to people. We need to start thinking with logic. We need to start looking at people's history. What were they doing before? Have they been consistent over time? That tells you everything you need to know. That tells you about what their future can be like and what they can be like for you. So don't let people brainwash you. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about the flying monkeys. They are brainwashed. The narcissist goes around spreading these lies. It's always the same thing. You're crazy, you're unstable, you're selfish, you're dangerous. And actually, word for words is what they're telling people. It's not just me saying this, it's all over the internet, all over YouTube. They say the exact same thing. And they also paint you as this, just this rude, arrogant, selfish person who's like obnoxious and thinks they're better than everyone. And yeah, it really, it seems to be something that's relatable to a lot of people. That's why there's so many smear campaigns now. That's why some of my videos on the smear campaigns have gone viral, for that reason. And really, it is a lot of envy and jealousy. But not only that, they make it out like you're like some provocative person. And obviously, that is something that's kind of worthy of contempt. People who go out of their way to provoke, to stir something up. And that's really how they paint you. And of course, you look that way by the end of it because they've ruined you. They blamed you for everything, made you feel like you're nothing. And so, of course, you look that way by the end of it because it's survival. If someone is destroying you, telling you all the time you're nothing, you're no good, you have to fight it, otherwise you will die. You have to be like, going the other way, pushing against this this black or white mentality. So instead of you being nothing, you have to be like, no, I'm everything. No, I'm not flawed, I'm perfect. It's you. You have to develop this attitude by the end of it. And this is why, when I speak to my clients on one-on-one calls, I always listen with discernment. I listen very carefully before I label them as a narcissist, because I get it. I completely understand. Of course, victims are going to be angry. We're not just these vulnerable, helpless victims. No, it's nothing like that in reality. Of course, you're going to be angry. Of course, you're going to be upset. Of course, you may seem even a bit arrogant by the end of it because it's survival. You're just in survival mode. It doesn't mean that you're obnoxious. And so I get it. But yeah, a lot of people, they do not understand this. And that's why so many victims of narcissistic abuse are alone. These predators are free to walk, and they are the ones who are doing this to people. And they're making us look bad, making us look crazy, unstable, making us look arrogant. That's exactly what they're doing to us. When in reality, we are the opposite. And, many of my clients, after I talk to them for a certain amount of time, I listen to them, to what they went through, what was done to them. It all started to make a lot more sense, in my early days of coaching, because at first, it did seem a bit off, but as I listened, I got it. It made more sense. I mean, of course, someone is going to be very emotional. Of course, they may appear more narcissistic by the end of it. And Professor Sam Vaknin, psychologist Dr. Ramani, she has mentioned this as well, about narcissistic fleas and how being around a narcissist can diminish your empathy. So, and yeah, many victims of narcissistic abuse, they question if they're the narcissist. You need to remember who you were before getting involved with them. I bet you were one of the most kindest, sweetest people. This is it, they want to put it onto you because they know it's them. And they just do not want to identify with it. This is why in the beginning, they seem so kind, so humble initially. And then, before you know it, they become very selfish, very greedy. They want everything from you and they give nothing back. That's what they are like. That's not you. So don't seek answers from them. You remind yourself of who you are. You are really good, kind people. Affirm that to yourself. And if people don't like you, if you're being smeared, if people are turned against you, they don't see the real you. They're being brainwashed. They're being fed a lie. And yeah, like I said, no one's perfect. As you may have got caught up in some things, some addictions, that's normal too. Victims are not just these perfect, vulnerable, helpless people. No, they're not. Many victims can get into drugs for years. They can be addicted to alcohol for years. Completely normal for a victim. Do the research, look it up. You may be shocked what you find about real victims who have been abused. They typically become more like the abuser. And that's what we're seeing. Or they adopt the same habits as a parent. This is all psychological facts, such as children of alcoholic parents. They too may turn to alcohol because they saw that it was a coping mechanism for their parents. It's learned behavior. Victims are not what people think. And this is it. It can be very difficult to tell sometimes who is the victim and who is the narcissist. But I stand by, what I've always said. The victim is the one who comes in with a lot and leaves with very little. The narcissist is the one who comes in with practically nothing and leaves with everything. So you become isolated. You lose your money. You lose your health. The narcissist gains people, admiration, sympathy, support, money. So that's how we know who's the victim and who's the narcissist. And this is it, like I said, most people, they're just around narcissists, or they're narcissists themselves. That's really how it is. And it's the victims who are isolated. And we can see this everywhere in the world. You look at child victims of abuse. They typically get bullied in school. Everyone turns against them. People laugh at them. They're left isolated, alone. They have no friends. Same thing with children with disabilities. They're looked at as different, weird. This is it. Same thing in the workplace. It's the same everywhere in the world. And it's always been that way. Because most people are brainwashed. Most people are unaware. They can't even see the truth. Because that's just it. To see the truth, you have to be alone. And to have a strong character, to have a real identity, you have to be alone for a certain amount of time. And that's why it's so easy for them to bully and intimidate you. Because you have something for them to pick on. As for them, they're all fake, they're all the same. And that's how they have so many friends, so many enablers. That's very easy to do when you're being fake. Try being real. Try being honest. Try actually speaking up on what you believe in. Let's see how many friends you have then. Let's see how many flying monkeys you got around you then. Exactly. They're all fake. Don't worry about it. Don't let them get to you. And know that you have us on cue. Of course, we're not a cult. We do support individualism. your individual identity. And, that's why, we welcome people in this community, and we welcome your own individual ideas. And we could all talk about things together in the comments. But yeah, this is it. This is the deepest truth about this. I have been researching about this for the last 8 years on narcissistic abuse. I've coached hundreds of people around the world, and that includes doctors, psychologists, celebrities, and I've even had collaborations with various partners, including Dr. Les Carter, who's here on YouTube. So, yep, I know what I'm talking about. And I'm very good at just dissecting things. And I've always read through people from a very young age. I've always been able to, and I've always had this self-awareness. I've always been able to examine my own behaviors. So yeah, I've always been just good at understanding people. It's just, in my experience, they weren't able to receive it. And because I saw this so often, I just assumed that it was something wrong with me. Not realizing that I wasn't meant to be a follower. I was meant to be the leader, the authority. I meant to just tell people how it is, like what's really happening, because so many people cannot see it. And of course, there were things I couldn't see myself. It really woke me up, 8 years ago when I watched one of Sam Vaknin's videos. Because for such a long time I was blaming myself. But deep down, I knew that it wasn't me. I knew that I wasn't the problem. I knew that I had something inside of me. And that, that I do have a gift. I always knew that I was special. But yeah, I just didn't share that with anyone. I just kind of kept it to myself. And yeah, we are all special. That's why they chose us. That's why they targeted us. I'm just scrolling through the comments here. William Gregg says, also, are you coming out or what? Sorry to disappoint you, William. I'm sorry to ruin your day, but I am straight. But hopefully, you will find the right guy for you. Speaking the truth asks, can they ever change? He returned, did the same thing, calling me crazy. Well, as I mentioned in my live video yesterday, I still stand by what I said. We need to have the love in our hearts. We need to have compassion for these people. Remember, they were once victims themselves. They then became predators. And not just for a short time, you know. Sometimes that can happen with victims, is that they do become predatory themselves for a short period of time, going through the anger phase. But you know, when we're seeing this consistent pattern of behavior in narcissists over many years, you know, clearly it's a disorder. But still, you know, you must recognize that they were once victims themselves. And had these things not been done to them, would they still be narcissists? So have compassion. Yes, they most definitely did make choices in life. But would they be a narcissist if these things weren't done to them in childhood? So, you know, that's what we have to accept. So have compassion. And, you know, I do believe that, you know, just think about the smear campaign and how they have to manipulate everyone, lie to them. It's because they know they won't be accepted in the world if they did come out as who they actually are. That's what I believe. That's why they choose denial. They run from the shame. That's why it's so painful. Because remember, everything's coming from the outside. The validation is coming in. So it's because of everyone else. And so if everyone else in the external environment changes, remember, everything's coming in, you see a very different narcissist. And we do see this over time, you know, as societal trends change, narcissists adapt. Everyone adapts. So, and they do make long-term consistent changes in following these trends. So I believe that it can be changed. It's not that they can't change it. It's because the external environment doesn't allow for change. That's how I see it. And it's because we would alienate them. We would just blame them and just persecute them. So in many ways, society as a whole is accountable for this. And like I said in yesterday's video, you know, we see them as so different, but we're actually very much the same, because they were once victims, and that's how they became disordered in this way. And, you know, after what they do, it's like we just want to kill them ourselves. And so we're very much the same. And yet we alienate them and see them as so different. That's the crazy thing about it. And again, I think that's our ego. It's like we want to think in our minds, no, I'm nothing like that. Are you, though? How do you feel after what they did to you? And so we have to recognize that we're not so different. And again, you know, that helps with developing compassion, forgiveness. I mean, you don't have to completely forgive and let it go. I mean, you got to remember, you got to protect yourself. And of course, you can never accept that, you know, it's acceptable for those things to be done to you. Of course not. But yeah, that's just my understanding, you know, after my years of research. Of course, it's easier said than done, especially, you know, when a narcissist is right in front of you. You can't, you know, you will struggle to just be compassionate for them. And I get that. But from a distance, you can be compassionate. You can understand then. When you're safe, when you're protected. But yeah, I think this is another thing, is that, you know, in spreading awareness of this, I think that we do need to stop alienating them. And funny enough, it does appear to be going that way. From what I heard from Richard Grannon, is that soon over the next few years, they may take away the label of a narcissistic personality disorder and replace it with post-traumatic stress disorder, or CTPSR, complex post-traumatic stress response. So just the response to the hostile environment in childhood. And even psychopathy may just be taken away because it's really just grandiose narcissism. And it makes a lot of sense. And it could be more helpful, you know, to take away this label and to just, you know, stop alienating these people. Of course, for us, initially, when you're at the very beginning of your healing journey, nothing is more helpful than to just label it. So you have an identification and you can say, this is a narcissist, this is an abuser, I am a victim. That could be the most helpful thing in the world initially, yes. But moving forwards, it can be very unhealthy and it can keep you stuck. And that's why, you know, I don't even call myself a survivor or call any of you survivors so much in my videos like I used to. And I don't even say narcissist as much as I used to. I'm trying to move away from the labels and recognize, you know, these are just people with trauma, people who have been hurt, because that's the truth about it. I mean, we say that they have a mental illness, they have a personality disorder. Really, these are just terms that we have created. But for now, you know, if you've just been hurt by a narcissist, by all means, label them as a narcissist. Call it abuse. You need to label it initially, of course. It helps for you to be able to identify, you know, that it's bad, it's wrong, it's damaging. Anyway, I'm gonna go and get some dinner now. I really enjoyed sharing this video with you today. Give it a thumbs up if it was good for you. And drop your thoughts, any questions in the comment section. Subscribe and click all notifications to be notified when I go live again. Check out the Instagram, TikTok, it's Narc Survivor Coaching. Narc Survivor 18 on X for daily videos. and Narc Survivor on Facebook groups. Also check out the daily blog posts and book a one-on-one with me on my website. It's narcsurvivor.co.uk. And if you'd like to support this work, consider making a donation. Go to paypal.me/narcsurvivor. All right, that's it for this one. Looking out at the balcony. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate your support. And I wish you the best on your healing. You all have a great day, wherever you are in the world. And I will speak to you in another live very soon.